You are most definitely in the right place for Honor, Thank, Inspire.
Cuando me siento solo, no encuentro la razón.
The voice you hear is Dante Plata, a Vietnam veteran who witnessed the casualties of war not on the battlefield, but in a hospital in Japan, where for 2 years, as a medic, he helped treat a seemingly endless flow of wounded, young men, his age, their lives forever changed. It was an agonizing time in the life of a soldier who's now approaching age 77. Dante is deeply religious. He is also a composer and singer who has channeled those passions into producing his own Christian gospel music in both Spanish and English. Though back in the day, he was a rock and roll kid who brought music to the young men he was trying to help heal.
No dejes que mi vida siga corriendo así.
When were you caught by the music bug?
I got caught. I think I mentioned to you I grew up in a church, very loud Pentecostal church. When I got here, my dad was going to this Pentecostal church, and there was a man by name Gomez, Brother Gomez, or Robert Gomez. He played guitar. He's the one that got the church going before the sermon. So he got me going, and I started learning how to play guitar. I wanted to play like him. He was good. But then, going to high school is when I started hearing a lot of rock and roll. And man, did it start, getting to me little by little. And I'm a church goer at that time. My parents, they were strict. You got to go to church. That's the devil's music.
Yeah, the devil's music. Rock and roll is tempting.
Yeah. So that was me. And I started listening to it, and I started liking it. And before I knew it, I started practicing because I had learned some chords on the guitar. So I noticed that I could play it. So I started playing. So by the time I got to high school, I met some guys like Leo Wasso, who was my lead singer. Oh, he was good. He's still alive. He goes to church now. He didn't go then, but he goes now. Anyway, him and Ralph Villalobos, he was in the Air Force, I think, and he was an MP about the time that I was in the Army. He just passed away last year. So he was my lead singer too. And then there was my cousin who was only 2 years younger than us. He was 14. He was my drummer. And another guy named George. I can't think of his last. But the only surviving guys from that group is myself and Leo Wasso.
What was the name of your group?
The Walking Miracles. And we came out of Pilsen. That's what we came out of.
And
Pilsen.
so you envisioned yourself having a rock and roll, or at least a musical career.
Yes, we did. We got to the point that we got noticed by Channel 11. They invited us to be in their program. And we were there in their program. And we took pictures outside because we were proud, 15, 16 years old and rock and roll and all dressed up like the Beatles, your nice tight suits and all of that. So that's where we were at. And then we got a telegram saying that they wanted to, if we wanted to accept a recording studio. By that time, I was already ready to go in the Army. I had already received a letter, and I was supposed to report for my physical, and that's what happened.
And you're watching what's happened. This is 1965.
Yes.
Now, I want to set the stage for Vietnam at that time.
Yes.
The South Vietnamese government was in disarray.
Yes.
We started B-52 bombing raids over the north.
Yes.
In sheer numbers at year's end, we had over 184,000 men in Vietnam. That was 8 times the number the year before.
Correct.
Combat death count was just over 1,900, 9 times the year before. And there were 231,000 men who were drafted, double the year before. And you saw that the draft notice was going to come your way. And you watched all this stuff happening in Vietnam.
On TV.
Yeah.
On TV. Walter Cronkite, he was the most famous man for showing everything you could think of about the Vietnam War. And that's all I could see, in color on top of that.
So what's in your mind when you decide to go to the enlistment station?
I was scared. I was really scared because at that time, when you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you see all this on TV, and it's coming. They tell you as soon as you hit 18, you got to register for the draft. So I knew my time was coming, and after seeing all of the horrors of what was going on in Vietnam, I got scared. And I figured, because I don't know if I mentioned to you, I had an uncle who had served in the Air Force, and he said to me, if you ever join or if you ever go in, try to get to Germany. Germany's the place to go. So I told him, yeah. So then the day came when I made a decision that when I went to get the physical, I was going to enlist, and asked the recruiter that I wanted to go to Germany. But he lied.
What did he say to you?
He said, oh, sure, no problem. Hey, here, sign here. And Germany, you said? Yes. And he started writing like on a paper, right? Germany. I said, oh, man, I'm going to Germany.
And
I was surprised.
yes, you were a naive young man, weren't you?
Big time.
Yeah.
You know, when you're young at that age, you don't know much.
So you know you're in, and now
Yes.
you're going to go off to basic.
Yes.
And where did you go to Fort Sam Houston?
No, I went to, yes, I did. But before that, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
When I went there, believe me, I cried for two weeks, man. I didn't want to be there. I saw how it was cold. I went in November. It was cold as can be. They call Fort Leonard Wood Little Korea. Why? Because it's very cold in the winter. It's just like Korea. And I was there, man. I could see all these guys, man. Oh my Lord, we had hair. By the time by that week, we had no hair. I mean, they chop it off.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want that in the army. So I was there for 2 weeks, man. And at night, in the barracks, we would get together and listen to Dick Biondi and all these other guys from Chicago, DJs, and that were on the radio, and we would hear the music, and man, we would hear the Four Seasons and us Walk Like a Man and all these other groups, man, and we would cry and want to be home. But I was scared to jump, how can you say, to go AWOL. I was scared because I knew deep inside that I would get in trouble, and I didn't want to get in trouble. But a lot of guys did that. They went AWOL, and the crazy thing about it that they went AWOL to try to get home, but they got busted right there by St. Louis, Missouri at the Greyhound bus. The MPs caught them there.
Oh, they know where they were going to go.
Yeah, that was the place to go, and you got caught. So I never went. But I did. I finally said to myself after 2 weeks, either you take it like a man or try to figure out how to get out of here. And I said to myself, no, I'm going to take it. I'm going to continue, and no matter what, I'm going to finish. And I did.
So then you go on to Fort Sam Houston for AIT.
Yes.
And that's when you become a medic. Did you have any medic aptitude?
No. Had no idea I was going to go there. Deep inside, I wanted to be a radio operator. A radio operator that, you know, you get your gear and you talk on this thing, and, you know, they give you orders through that, and you do all kinds of things with it. But that wasn't my call. They called me to be a medic, and I didn't know. I know the guys told me, says, oh, you're going to be a medic? Yeah, I guess so. Fort Sam Houston, that's where they're going to send me. Oh, man, you're going to be picking up dead bodies in Vietnam. Oh, that scared me even more. So I said, oh, Lord, please help me, man. I don't. So I ended up going to Fort Sam Houston.
And when you're at Fort Sam Houston, there's a moment when you're all, I guess, on the parade field or wherever. They're calling out names and giving you assignments.
Yeah.
And you're sweating bullets because
time.
you think you're
man.
going to Vietnam.
That's right.
What happened?
Well, let me tell you, we were all lined up. They called us up early in the morning, and they had the colonel there and with all kind of a big table full of orders, envelopes. And I remember, man, they start calling. The following people are going to Vietnam. They start calling. There must have been about, maybe we'd say about 100. It was the whole platoon. It was all of us were there. And they kept calling, and I said, Lord, man, they promised me Germany, man. I hope they say Germany. So they kept calling. And I said to myself, when are they going to call my name? And I'm the last 3 guys. We were the last 3 guys. And they stopped.
This is out of a whole company?
Yes. They stopped. When they got to the last guy, they stopped and said, oh, guys, take your orders and leave. Now it's time for you got 30-day pass and report on after your 30 days at Lackland Air Force, or I think it's Lackland Air Force in California. And from there you go to Vietnam. Okay, so I'm standing there and we're looking at each other, me and these 2 guys. I said, oh, man, what happened here, man? Something's wrong here. I said to myself, I'm going to Germany. So they call my name. Private Plata, your orders are to report to U.S. Army Camp Zama, Japan. What? What? I raised my hand. I said, what do you want? You know how ignorant I was. I raised my hand. It's like being in school. I said, but I'm supposed to go to Germany. You got your orders. That's it. Don't talk to me. Don't, and that was it, man. Oh, I hated that recruiter. I hated him.
So off you go to Japan.
Yes.
And
Good old
do you
Japan.
have a vision of what you're going to be doing when you're there? What's your role as a
medic?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be like a corpsman, an assistant to the doctors and whatever goes on in the ward. So I really didn't see myself like that. I mean, I went through my training. They told me about all the things I had to do, but I couldn't picture myself working in Japan in a hospital. Come on, man, So when I got there, I mean, I remember, man, when I got off the plane with all these other guys that were going assigned to that Camp Zama, it smelled like fish everywhere. It was, Japanese love to eat fish. They love all that good stuff. But I wasn't used to that kind of odors, So I remember we got to the base. It was at night. Must have been about 10 o'clock that we got to our barracks. And they told us, you got to get up early in the morning because you got to report to the hospital. And the hospital our barracks was practically like 100 feet away from the hospital. That's what I remember my first day get there.
And another thing that you don't get used to, I don't think you ever would get used to this,
Yeah.
is your job is to tend to the wounded coming in.
Yes.
And they're coming in by ambulance, they're coming
Yes.
in by helicopter.
Yes.
And so every day you've got to bring the wounded off the choppers.
Yes.
What was that like?
At first it was shocking because I never seen that. I saw it in movies, but I never seen it live. Well, we had to rush. As soon as the helicopter touched down, we had to rush. The doors opened. They opened them right away, and we had to grab the wounded. Some of them we had to help walk. Some of them we had to put in gurneys. I mean, it was every day, 3 helicopters a day, and I was there 2 years. And believe me, it was a shocker to see these. I thought I was going to see older people coming off the helicopter, and here, the first thing I see is young kids.
These are your contemporaries?
Yeah, man, and I'm going to tell you something that was very, very painful to see young people like that. I never expected young kids. I thought it was going to be older people coming out of those shoppers, but it was young kids, my age group. And some of them were crying. Some of them were moaning. Some of them had blood on their clothes, dry blood on their clothes. And to me, it was very painful. Believe me, I still feel it.
You just showed me a picture of one of the first patients
Yes.
that you dealt with. He was shot in the chin. The bullet exited up
In the
through
back.
The
The back of his head, yeah.
And so you're dealing with him, and what's he telling you? Is he able to converse with you, talk about
He
his
told me-
experience?
There was a moment when he told me he didn't want to go back. That he never wanted to go back to Vietnam. He just wanted to go home. He wanted to see his family because he says he was lucky that he was able to get shot in the chin and not die, not get killed. But he didn't want to go back home, to Vietnam, that he would not go back. And that was sad because I'm looking at him and I said, my Lord, we're the same age group.
Yeah. In your 2 years, you have many more experiences with individual patients, don't
Yes, I did.
you? Well, can you measure what that may have done to your psyche? I mean, medical people put up with a lot. They're very courageous.
Yes.
But you weren't a medical person when you started.
No, I wasn't.
And you're putting up with stuff that
I never thought I
you
would
can
see.
imagine yourself, being over there,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah, I never thought I would see what I got to see. And believe me, those moments when I used to go to the barrack to go to sleep, it will haunt me what I saw that day because I wasn't used to that. I grew up in Pilsen in a very peaceful neighborhood at that time. And to go from that to see wounded people moaning, crying, some of them couldn't walk because they were shot in the leg or something. I was not used to that. It was very horrific.
This was a real live version of what you were watching on the news before
Yes.
you went over.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see that, but I got to see it.
Did you ever feel conflicted about the fact that you were in Japan and not in Vietnam?
There were times when I felt guilty because I said, these guys, I should be out there. I should be out there. And here I am even though I'm helping these guys, even though I'm bringing them in to the hospital for care, I should have been there. And there are times when I'll be honest with you, when I talk to my buddies like Ron and all the other guys, and we talk about stuff like this, I feel guilty. I really feel guilty because maybe I should have gone there, but it wasn't meant, and I ended up doing others.
Well, you got the call to serve, and you did. And
Yes, I
other
did.
people were stateside, although the vast majority during Vietnam did go
Yeah.
to Southeast Asia.
And others went to Canada.
Yeah, yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Another burned their draft cards.
Yeah.
I mean, burned the flag, and that was hard to watch when I got back.
You told me the capacity was 850 patients.
At the hospital, yes.
Right, but it had such an overload. It was
Yes.
another 400 or 500 on top of that.
Yes.
So you have patients in the hallways.
Yes, we did, and that was because the Vietnam conflict was increasing. There was more battles. There were more people getting wounded, more people getting killed in both sides, and so that triggered more patients coming to our hospital, to the point where it was hard to treat them all because there were some in the hallway.
And you talked with your fellow medics, I guess, at night.
Oh yeah,
about
we would
this.
talk about it. We would say, "This is crazy. This war is becoming crazy," and a lot of us wanted to come home. We didn't want to see that no more. We got tired after 2 years. We were tired of seeing our kids, our contemporaries, getting either killed or shot, wounded like that, and we had to treat them.
Yeah,
We had to be there for them.
lives forever changed.
There you go.
Well, you brought to the hospital experience for a lot of these patients
Yes.
your gift of music,
Yes.
and you built a band.
Yes, I did.
Tell me about that.
That was like a way out for me in my head. Then instead of thinking so much about what's happening, that since I had the talent for music, I figured I'm going to start something here. And I remember writing to my mother, say, "Mom, I want you to do me a favor, get my Fender. You know, my Fender's in this beautiful case that I bought with it. Mail it to me to Japan." And I remember she wrote me a letter. Say, "Are you crazy? What are you doing over there?" So she did send it after that. She sent it, and then that's when I started a group of people that it was 5 of us that we felt the same, and we wanted to perform for the wounded. And we did. And we did.
And how did they respond?
They responded good. I mean, they were happy. I mean, here you hear your own contemporary people that are working to make you feel better, playing this kind of rock and roll music of that time, of that era. And I mean, they were feeling like great. I mean, we could see it in their eyes. The way they were moving and clapping, and some of them were in their beds. And I mean, it was a great experience for us.
Well, that was a bit of healing, wasn't it?
Yeah. It helped me a lot too.
What did you call your group?
The Ravens.
The Ravens. All
Yes.
right. You went from the Walking Miracles
To
to
the
the
Ravens.
Ravens.
Yes. What a name, huh?
Well, but you had some real talented musicians there.
Yes, we
And
did.
So the sound made an impression on
Yes, it
everybody you were
did.
playing for.
Yes, it did. We played quite a bit, and we had a following, and they loved it. They loved us, and we were glad. And after we played, like the next day, we had to go back to the hospital, and they would talk to us, say, "Man, you know, I feel better because you guys played some of those songs that are on the radio." And he says, "Yeah, we did it for you guys."
Sometimes you think you walk alone, you fall along the way. You need somebody, a helping hand, to get you through that cloudy day.
Your mom wrote a letter
Yes.
to President Johnson
time.
At the time,
Yeah.
and she made an appeal. And you didn't know about this.
Had no idea
right?
what she was doing.
And so what did the letter say?
That she wanted, if he could have kind of mercy on me, and that if he could put me in a place where I could be safe, since I'm the only male at home, and that she would be very grateful. And she did get a letter in response from the Department of Defense, where they told her that whatever happened, you know, they would do their best to see what could happen to me. Or
Well,
that was something that I could not believe.
Yeah.
I got that. I found that out after I got out. Mom, I says, "Why didn't you tell me, Mom?"
Did you thank her?
Yes, I did. What a mom can do. Let me tell you, moms are incredible.
And I presume you think that may have been a factor in your assignment
I
to
think
Japan.
that could have been it, yeah.
When the time came for you to return home, it was 1968, and all hell was breaking loose over there then.
Yes.
The war is raging, and the anti-war movement is hitting its zenith.
Man.
And I want to know what your homecoming was like.
It was before I got home, right a day before I left Japan. One of my sergeants pulled me in and says, Dante, I know you're leaving. Do me a favor. I said, what? Don't wear your uniform home. When you go home, wear civilian clothes.
Did you think that odd?
No. Well, at the moment, yeah. Why would a sergeant tell me that? I mean, I'm proud to serve my country, but yet he's telling me. And then I realized when I got to my barracks that I was leaving, I saw on TV all these demonstrations, the anti-war movement. And I said to myself, is that why he's telling me this? Because he's afraid that I might get into, somebody might pick on me or they might say something to me. And so I did that. I went home in my civilian clothes, got home, my mom hugged me, my dad hugged me, and he was like, I never left. I never felt like now. Welcome home. Nobody ever said it. We never heard it from anybody.
Were you angry?
Not right away. I got angry when I started seeing the demonstrations. And I started seeing some of the GIs that supposedly serve in Vietnam. Now they're against the war. And I'm saying, how could you do this? How could you turn around? Yeah, you want to stop it, but you don't have to demonstrate like that and make us who served like we did something wrong or like we're doing something wrong. And I started getting very angry after that because I couldn't believe that some of these guys were already burning their draft cards and some of them were burning the flag. And that to me was a no-no. I couldn't accept that. Mm-hmm. And I did get angry. For a while I was very angry. And I said, what year is this? And I remember I said, I know it's 1968, but why are they doing this? You know, I understand somehow they feel, but man, I couldn't believe it. I was hurt.
So for you, over the years after the war, you worked in insurance. You worked
for American National Insurance.
Worked for the Board of Education in Chicago.
Yeah, I got to work for them too.
And then you became a community organizer.
Well, yeah, because I learned that through the Board of Ed, where they said, well, you're going to be between the parents and the school. I said, okay. You hold meetings and let them know what's going on in the school. Any problems, we'll tell the principal. So I started with that. Then at one of the conferences by the Board of Ed downtown, I remember they invited all the people like myself to attend it. Mm-hmm. So I attended, and during that conference, one day there, they had a lady who was talking to all the people there in this big conference room. And then she said, could you please lower the lights? Whoever was mending the lights lowered it. And then it says, I want you to concentrate on someone that passed away that you loved a lot. I want you to think about that person real deep, because that's going to help you overcome all kinds. Listen, I didn't even get a chance to let her talk anymore. I got up and I said, wait a minute. This sounds to me like a seance where you're thinking about the dead. And this ain't right. And he stopped. He stopped. He turned back the lights on and people started talking about it and all that. This is not right. Well, because I did that, there was a person in the crowd that came up to me and said, are you Dante? I said, yes. How would you like to work for an agency called Latino Institute? We are organizers, and we go into the Hispanic community and organize the parents. I said, what? Yeah, would you like that? Here's my card. Contact me. So I contacted her, and then I did go for the interview at Latino Institute at that time, and I got hired. So from that moment on, I began to organize in the schools. And I did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then after that, a light clicked in my head, and I said, wait a minute. If the agency that I work for is able to do that, then I'm going to start something in my community and help my community, which is 26th Street, Little Village, South Lawndale. And I formed my own organization. I incorporated as a non-for-profit, and I had an office and a phone. And that's all I needed, a phone.
Concerned Citizens for Little Village.
Yes.
And
1981.
okay.
From there on, we were there.
All right. And your mission then was to help
Our
people,
community, yes.
right, with a variety of different
yes,
issues.
Yes. So that's how I got into this organization and being an organizer, you name it.
Morning. All right. Welcome to Honor Flight Chicago. This is our 107th flight and the start of our 15th season.
You were on Flight 107, Honor Flight Chicago Flight 107,
Oh, yeah.
and in April you were supposed to be on it, and we had a fly in the ointment that day. The weather didn't cooperate, and for the first time, first time in Honor Flight Chicago history, the flight was postponed.
Sure was.
But that morning, you met a fella that you had not seen in like 63 years.
Yes.
Rogelio Arredondo. Yes. And
Oh, yeah, Rogelio, yeah,
and
man.
so you went through the veterans' pictures, right? And you
Yeah.
saw that he's on the flight?
Yeah.
You were freaking out, weren't
I
you?
was. I couldn't believe it. I said, I know this guy. This guy, we were like about 14, 13 or 14. Our families used to go to church together. The same church we used to go to. And I know his family, his brothers, his sisters. And I said, is this him? And they said, Rogelio Arredondo. Oh, my God, that's him. So that's how I got to hook up with him again after all these years.
That was cool, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, it was. I remember being there at the honor flight when they were greeting us and taking us and giving us before the flight. I told one of the ladies, the volunteers, I said, listen, see these pictures? His name is Rogelio Arredondo. He's supposed to be here. I haven't seen this guy for 60-something years. Is there any way you can get a hold of him? She says, let me find out. Let me see what I can do. Well, she went and got a hold of him, and she told him, hey, there's a guy here that hasn't seen you for 60-something years. And he said, 60-something years? What is his name? I don't know yet, but he wants to see you. He says, really? Yeah, he wants to see you. So she wheeled him.
Oh, yeah.
They wheeled me. And there we were, face to face, man. Yeah, good to see you. Man, it's been so many years, my brother. So many years, man.
Wow. 60, what? 60?
1960. Our families used to go to church together. Our families. That's how we met. And then 1960 came around. I don't know where they went. We all separated. And I have not seen him since 1960.
How's he look?
He looks great. He looks strong and great. Yeah. Oh, my God. It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And I still, as a matter of fact, next week we're going to lunch.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, man, we're going to go to lunch.
All right. I want to know what that trip meant for you. 107 got off the ground, and we did make the trip the following
Yes.
month. And what did it mean to you? Because you never had a welcome home.
Paul, let me tell you something. I know I feel what a lot of people must have felt. It was beautiful to be able to see faces telling you, welcome home. Police officers, military people, regular people telling you, welcome home, welcome home. All throughout the trip, people kept saying, welcome home. I couldn't help myself, but I cried. I cried because I wanted to hear that in 1968. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Our country was in turmoil, and I never heard that until now. And because of Honor Flight, they made it possible. I'm so proud of that group. And I am so happy that I was able to hear finally the words, welcome home. And I'm very grateful to them for this.
Did you go to the wall?
Yes, I did. That alone, it's very touching.
Very powerful, isn't
Very
it?
touching. It is. Very touching. So I'm grateful.
And then when you come home, you have this nice welcome home.
Yes.
I mean, that's a loud,
Oh,
bold,
man.
musical
Oh
welcome home.
man, it was too much, man. I was in heaven, man. Just to come home and be greeted by Chicagoans, people from Chicago, man, telling us welcome home, something that I didn't hear when I got off the airplane back in '68. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful, and I commend Honor Flight, and I encourage, if you're a veteran from either World War II, Korea, whatever, apply for that flight. Join up with us, man, because it's beautiful.
Regresemos otra vez, mis hermanos, a alabar. Cantemos en la iglesia nuestras voces levantar. Recordando.
I want to talk about your music. Present day,
Oh yeah,
you're 76,
Yes.
going on 77.
Correct.
But
In
you
October.
look like you're 50.
praise God. It's the genes, my
And
mom.
you didn't get into recording your music until fairly recently,
Yes,
right?
yes, I just started.
And why?
Because I didn't have the means. You know, at that time, I didn't have the means, and it was rough because I had a family. I had to support them. I had to work. And recording, it becomes an expense. But the last 10 years, I did some recording with people who have a studio in their home, and they would do it real cheap, like $150 per song. And I said, okay. And, you know, I did it. And now I have a way of doing it where even if it's costing me a little more, I'm glad to do it, because the songs that I write, which are original from me, that I love to write, I want people to get encouraged, because I sing words of encouragement to look after God. You know, if you're lonely and down and out, look up to God, man. Stretch out your hand and call upon Him. He'll answer you, because I've been there. And that's what I do. So now, the last 2 years, I did an album, mariachi gospel music, and you know, Hispanic people love mariachis. You know,
Yeah.
we're crazy about that in Mexico, especially. So I wrote a song, mariachi. I always wanted to do a mariachi song, especially because my mom wanted me to do it back about 30, 40 years ago, but I never did. But this time I said, I'm going to try it. So I did. And I showed it to my wife after I recorded, and she says, you know what? You got to keep going. This sounds beautiful. This is a beautiful song that you wrote. Keep writing. So I did 2 albums so far, and I'm working on my 3rd.
And you posted them online,
Yeah.
and they're free.
They're free. I give them away. I don't
Why
want
do you do
money.
that?
Because I don't want money. You know, I look at it like this. I grew up in the church, and I always believe, even in my teenagers, that sermons, that whatever God gives you and inspires you, why would you sell it? Why would you want to make a profit out of something that God is giving you? It's supposed to be a blessing to others, not a burden, not financial cost to them. So what I do is I give it to them. I want to share my blessings, what God inspired me to write, with people. I want them to hear my music. That's it. I don't want the money. I don't want none. God has blessed me enough. I can do it. Why not?
Thank you for doing that.
When you're feeling down and out, and you feel you just can't go on, no one sees the tears you're crying. When you're 1,000 miles away from home, you feel like running in desperation. Don't let the blues get the best of you. You've got to hold on. You've got to hold on.
You've got to hold on.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to hold on.
Yes, you got to hold on, man. A lot of times we want to give up, but don't give up. If that song says don't give up, you got to hold on, because the promises of God will come.
Well, I love your music.
Thank you, Paul.
You have on one of them, the lead guitarist sounds like Carlos
Oh,
Santana.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does.
Anyway, thank you for doing this.
Thank you,
and
Paul, for this.
Your experience and your service, and
Thank you.
it always ends with welcome home.
Yes, it does. And I'm glad to be home.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tell you why. You got to hold to Jesus' promises. They are written in His holy word.
We We hope you found today's Honor, Thank, Inspire episode to be moving and meaningful. If you did, we invite you to share this podcast and make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The impact Honor Flight Chicago has on the lives of our veterans and their families is made possible by the generosity of our donors. To support our mission, to find our veteran application, to volunteer, or simply for more information, please visit us at honorflightchicago.org.